When our favorite villain is getting used to his new life as a dad, he gets a mission from the Anti-Villain League to catch the thief of a secret lab. That is why today on the Summarizer, Despicable Me Too. The story of Gru continues when, somewhere in the Arctic, a huge base of operations gets an unexpected visit from a gigantic magnet that incredibly manages to steal the entire facility, vehicles, and its employees. On the other hand, we see our favorite villain who has stopped being the bad guy from the first movie. Now he's at his little Agnes's birthday party, and with the help of the minions, they put on a big show from the princess's kingdom. Things get complicated when they receive a call saying the person who's supposed to dress up as the princess can't make it. So Gru has no choice but to take on the most important role of the birthday party. Because of this, his neighbor wants to introduce him to one of her single friends, but he's not interested at all. Later, he gets a visit from Agent Lucy Wilde, who asks him to come with her somewhere. He refuses and tries to attack her, but she quickly handles him and uses her special skills to knock him out. She locks him in the trunk of her car, and a couple of minions discover what's happening, so they follow her to try and rescue their boss. Lucy drives to a secret office located under the sea, and once they arrive, she frees Gru and the two minions with him. There, she introduces her boss Silas, who happens to be the director of the Anti-Villain League, and they tell him about what happened at the Arctic lab. It turns out they were developing a serum called PX that causes transmutation. When injected, it turns a creature into its worst, most evil version, making it a huge threat. They ask for his help as a former villain to analyze the behavior of whoever is behind all this, but Gru isn't interested in getting involved, so he decides to leave. At the last moment, Agent Lucy tells him she's been following his work as a villain and was impressed, so she gives him a card in case he changes his mind and provides a boat for him to return to shore. Back home, one of his daughters asks if he will go on the date with his neighbor's friend. This makes Gru remember a moment from his childhood when he tried to ask a girl out but was humiliated by everyone, leaving him traumatized. Before going to bed, he discovers that his oldest daughter, Margot, is chatting with someone, so he starts interrogating her because he doesn't want her talking to a boy. Then he goes to the secret lab where the minions are making jelly, which has become Gru's new business. The problem is, the jelly tastes awful, causing some chaos. Things get even more complicated when Dr. Nefario admits he misses being evil and doesn't enjoy making jelly. And now he has received a job offer elsewhere and decides to resign. At first, Gru disagrees, but then he decides to give him an honorary send-off through the main door. Meanwhile, the minion in charge of cleaning the house hears the doorbell ring, and upon opening the door, a strange figure kidnaps him. The next morning, Gru's three daughters create a profile for him on a dating website with his best photos, but he disapproves of this. So, he takes the laptop away and tells them he has been hired by an agency to go undercover and save the world as a spy. This excites the girls and some of the minions who dress up to accompany him to the mall. They all go to a coffee shop where Agent Lucy works, trying to make everyone believe she has a normal life. The important thing is that from now on, she will be his partner on this mission, and she's surprised to meet the minions. But one of them falls head over heels for Lucy upon seeing her for the first time and instantly imagines a life with her. Gru and Lucy start their undercover mission, trying to find the lab thief when they're interrupted by Eduardo Perez, a very patriotic Mexican and the owner of a restaurant across the mall. Eduardo has come to order 200 cupcakes because he's throwing a party soon. And while talking, Gru realizes the man looks a lot like a villain named El Macho. Years ago, this dangerous man caused a lot of trouble somewhere in the country, but supposedly died while performing an incredible stunt in a volcano, so Gru thinks he's their target. Back home, Gru makes sure his daughters have done all their homework, and one of them recites a poem she's preparing for Mother's Day at school. And this leads to a touching moment, since the girl doesn't have a mother. The minions enjoy their free time with singing, betting, and lots of ice cream. When Gru enters his lab, he asks two minions to join him, while two others are mysteriously kidnapped. Our favorite villain, the two minions and Agent Lucy manage to sneak into the mall at night. Their plan is to break into Eduardo's restaurant and find out if he's the villain they're looking for. The problem is, they encounter the guardian chicken who starts attacking them until they finally trap it in a capsule. Then they reach the restaurant safe, but only find the secret salsa recipe used in their dishes. Worse, Eduardo arrives at the restaurant and finds his chicken trapped, so he grabs a knife to investigate. But fortunately, Gru and Agent Lucy escape just in time with the minions' help. The next morning, an ice cream truck shows up in front of Gru's house, and a bunch of minions run out in excitement because they love ice cream, but it turns out to be a trap, and they all get kidnapped. At the mall, Gru and Lucy continue their undercover mission when they're surprised by the three girls. Lucy quickly approaches them to introduce herself, and Agnes is thrilled because she thinks Lucy would make a great mom. So Gru quickly gives them money to get them away, and this scene touches Lucy, making her realize Gru is a good father. Soon after, Margot falls in love at first sight with a boy walking on the other side of the fountain. His name is Antonio, and he introduces himself and invites her to have some cookies. Gru decides to enter a Chinese man's shop who is his new suspect, while Lucy is in the coffee shop giving him instructions through an earpiece. Soon, they find something suspicious. But at that moment, the other two girls arrive to tell him about Margot's romantic date. Without hesitating, our favorite villain decides to go after her because he's jealous of her, so he follows them to Fernando's Mexican restaurant, which turns out to be none other than Antonio's dad. Seeing our hero, the vigilant chicken starts acting weird, and Fernando decides to throw a weekend party to celebrate the love between his two kids. Later, the two spies have a meeting with the head of the anti-villain league, where Gru, visibly worked up, insists Fernando is El Macho and needs locking up. But nobody takes him seriously, because they think he's just trying to keep his daughter away from Antonio. Meanwhile, the minions wake up on a deserted island, seemingly kidnapped but actually having a blast. Not knowing they're being watched by some mysterious someone, Gru starts noticing a few minions missing, but figures they just coincided on vacation. But he ain't got time to dig into it, because his neighbor's friends come to take him on a date. For some reason, our hero wears a wig to dinner, and when the girl finds out, she starts dissing him for hating lies and bald dudes. Lucky for him, Lucy shows up and helps by injecting a sedative in the girl's butt, getting her out of there. They end up talking about their personal lives, making a special connection, and Lucy gives him a goodbye kiss on the cheek. Come morning, Gru wakes up in a great mood, whips up a big breakfast, and helps some ducklings cross the street, all seeming happy till things change at the mall. Turns out, the anti-villain leagues tracked the Chinese store where they found the lab stuff, wrapping up the case. This news bums Gru out because he's gotta go back to his jam business, while Lucy's shipped off to an Aussie branch for a new mission, killing his buzz. She hands him her lipstick as a parting gift. This instantly changes his mood. His attitude shows he's gone back to being a villain, because he's sad, confessing to Agnes that he's in love with Lucy, but it's too late. Still, he decides to call her, preps what to say, but chickens out last minute and burns the phone. Meanwhile, the minions keep having a blast on Vacai till two of them are lured to some kind of lab, injected with a substance and turned into something ugly. Gru's got no choice but to hit up Fernando's party and tries his best to keep Margot away from Antonio, but fails, feeling down at a table till Fernando cheers him up, saying they're both survivors and more alike than he thinks. Suspicious still, Gru tails him till he discovers the Mexicans got a secret lair, cracking the musical password to get in. Meanwhile, Lucy's en route to Australia when she starts seeing Gru's face everywhere, realizing she's in love with him and decides to pop the plane's emergency door to head home. When our hero enters the lair, he finds out Fernando's none other than El Macho, with the biggest shock being Dr. Nefario's working for him, turning the minions into an army of wild, indestructible creatures. El Macho tells him he admires his villainy from before and wants to team up to be the world's top villains. Gru plays along while trying to escape, but El Macho sends one of the transformed minions after him. And now he freezes Antonio before leaving with his daughters. Hours later, Lucy arrives at the mall, distracted by Fernando, who offers to help but already knows she's with the anti-villain league, so he kidnaps her. Luckily, Dr. Nefario sneaks a call to our hero, telling him what's up, and Gru immediately springs into action, ready to do anything to get back the love of his life. Little does he know, one of the transformed minions has made it to his house, going after his daughters. But Agnes manages to stun it with her screams. Just in time, Dr. Nefario saves him by turning it back to normal with a secret antidote, mixing it into jam for a mass cure. Meanwhile, Gru heads for his new enemy's fortress with the last two minions, disguising them as evil creatures, and luckily getting in fast by making it look like he's their prisoner. But soon, they're found out, causing big trouble as they're chased by these beasts. They all start running like crazy, till they reach the fortress roof, getting cornered until a real miracle happens. Dr. Nefario and the girls show up in a ship with the antidote, using a big jam gadget to blast them and easily get all the minions back. El Macho starts getting worried about this, and Gru seizes the moment to rescue Lucy, but it's almost too late because she's tied to a rocket heading north, the same volcano where the Mexican faked his death and nothing can stop it. Now that El Macho's lost the button to set off the rocket, he takes the last potion left, transforming into a huge, indestructible beast with the intent to take down Gru. In this final battle, our favorite villain uses Lucy's lipstick, which turns out to be a laser gun, and his trusty scientist knocks him out for good. Quickly, Gru races to find his true love, but unfortunately, the store's vigilant chicken gets back at him by hitting the red button, launching the rocket towards the volcano. Along the way, our hero manages to free the girl, and they plan a date. This gives them the motivation they need to survive, and 147 days later, they're all in a beautiful forest having a romantic musical number, cause it's our favorite villains and the anti-villain agent's wedding day. Everyone celebrates happily. Margot gathers the courage to recite a Mother's Day poem, and then they start dancing with their best forbidden moves at an amazing party like one big, happy family. That was Despicable Me 2. Don't forget to like, comment on what movies you want to see next, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next videos.